Recent public opinion polls in the United States reveal that Jewish support for President Barack Obama has not been affected by the strained relationship he's perceived to hold with Prime Minister Netanyahu. IBA's Eli Wogelanter asked the Southeast Director of the Hartman Institute's Educational Initiatives, Rabbi Lauren Berkun, how much Israel will be a factor among American Jews when they're casting their votes during the 2012 U.S. presidential elections.
My sense is there's a lot of skepticism about Obama's support for Israel. And having been at the AIPAC convention this year with over 10,000 North American Jews, the feeling in the air is a feeling of skepticism, I think fear about the future, and a sense of anger and impatience that they want to see more evidence of the commitment. That doesn't happen to be my own political view. I take Obama on his word in his support for the State of Israel, and I think that even at the American Heritage Month reception at the White House, you sense, and I felt a genuine appreciation for the American Jewish community and our contributions to American culture, and a real commitment to helping the State of Israel.
Could we not say that for the list of priorities that American Jews look at, view the political spectrum, and how they decide their voting when it comes to Election Day, Israel is in fact dropping further and further down on that list?
I think that's true. And I think that kind of single-issue Jewish voter, we're not seeing that phenomenon as much as perhaps we have seen in the past. I think that's partly as a result of the growing trend of disconnect between North American Jews and the State of Israel, a disengagement from Israel. A growing number of young North American Jews do not feel that sense of obligation and loyalty to the State of Israel, to the great dismay of Jewish leaders and Jewish organizations worldwide. And I think that may be played out in the polling booths when it comes to who Jewish Americans elect as their leaders. I think domestic issues most likely take center focus for most younger North American Jews. On the other hand, I do think you still see amongst the older generation of Jews a great concern for Israel, and that will affect the way they vote, as it has in the past, when there's such a skepticism about Obama and whether or not he truly has Israel's interests at heart.
In your opinion, what would you say is the reason why Israel continues dropping further and further down the list, and what can be done to change that?
So that's a great question for me right now, because here I am this summer at the Hartman Institute at a conference that's devoted to this question of Jewish peoplehood and how to inculcate in the hearts and minds of North American Jews that sense of a communal orientation to Judaism. We're fighting, it's a countercultural process, because in the last 10 years, Jewish sociologists like Stephen Cohen and authors like Arnie Eisen have written about the phenomenon of the Jew within, and have noted that Jews, like all religious groups in America, have shifted from participating in public institutions as the center of their identity and affiliation, and have been enacting Judaism in the private sphere. Their source of authority is no longer tradition or the community. The source of authority is the sovereign self. That's the language that sociologists will use. And as a result, it's not surprising that Israel becomes less and less central and important to North American Jews. If Judaism is simply your private spiritual path, then a connection to Israel and a loyalty to Israel is voluntary. It's not a given the way that it has been in the past. So the challenge is, how do we create a more well-rounded Jewish identity amongst North American Jews, so that they understand Judaism as not merely a religion, but Judaism is also a nation, a national identity and ethnicity. And as I mentioned, that's a countercultural educational process,